I'm Professor Blowers, class is in session. Let's learn business technology. Our first order of business is setting up the artboard. So without any further ado, click on File and then New or Control N, and then at the top here, click on Print. It'll default to letter, and that works for me. We're gonna call this sailboat dash your name. I'll put in Professor because, well, Professor's my first name. Then everything else, let's change it from points to inches, and it'll default to 8.5 by 11, which is the size of a piece of paper. Awesome. We have it set to portrait with one artboard. We'll keep our bleed settings the same, then click on Create. It should look something like this. Now, let's fit this artboard to the screen here by pressing Ctrl-0 so that it fits. Now, let's place the sketch of a sailboat onto our artboard right here. Let's click on File and then Place, and then Shift-Control-P. Now, let's navigate to the folder that we downloaded that includes this file. So, bear with me as I find this file. It's inside the Regatta folder, and there it is, there's our sketch. Click it just one time, please. Select it. Then click on Template. This is incredibly important that you click on Template and that link and template have been selected on your sketch. Do this before you place it, please. Click on Place and voila, there's our sailboat. Wow, that's a great boat. You might be wondering though, hey, what's C1, what's C2, C3? What's the gradient? Well, these refer to different colors and different levels of gradients on the sail. We're gonna make this a professional looking sail for this Long Beach Regatta event. First, you'll notice that the sailboat's a little bit dim. So over in our Layers panel, click on the outside area, right outside of Template Sketch. You don't wanna click right over Template Sketch because, well, that'll have you rename it. Click right over here 2 times, and that'll give you the option to uncheck dim images to 50%. So deselect this, press OK, and notice the changes. Let's go ahead and click on the pen tool, and we're gonna work on this sketch and make it more professional. So, by opening up the pen tool, in the top left, if you hover over it, it'll tell you what that tool is. So, it'll also tell you what that tool does. Hover over the tool, you'll also notice the shortcut for the tool. So by hovering over the pen tool, we learn that the shortcut is P. If you click and hold on that tool, you'll see the Add Anchor Point tool, Delete Anchor Point tool, and just the straight Anchor Point tool, as well as its shortcuts. So making sure that we have pen selected, let's go ahead and zoom in. So press Control plus, Control plus, Control plus, press spacebar, click and drag while holding on spacebar so you can put the file exactly where you want it. Now that we have the pen tool open, we click once on the top left bit of this sketch and then drag around. Notice what that tool does. When you let go and click on the bottom left part of the boat and drag around, move that around. Notice the Bezier curves. Notice how you can get the shape of your curve to match the shape of the boat. But let's say that this isn't what you're looking for. Let's say you made a mistake. How do we fix a mistake? Well, go ahead and press Ctrl-Z once and twice and you're back in business. Well, let's say this happens right here. If you have this arm just kind of floating around and you want to get rid of it, you can press Escape and you're back in business, and then press Ctrl-Z to get that out of the way. So we can kind of reset our workspace here. With our pen tool selected and the boat fully in frame, please click on the top left part of the boat right here and then let go. Then move your cursor down towards the bottom left of the boat. Then click and hold the bottom left part of the boat and move your cursor around so you can see how the curve matches the shape of the boat. Now yours isn't going to look exactly like mine, and that's okay. It's your boat, it's not my boat. And if it's not exact, I can show you how to fix it later. You'll click and let go, but here we're faced with a dilemma. So do we want this anchor point to go away? If you want it to go away, click on the anchor point just once to get this straight line. So click the anchor point, move the mouse over towards the bottom right part of the boat right here. This time, click and let go, and notice what that does. It's a straight line. It doesn't really follow the shape of the boat, but if you press Alt on the keyboard and hover over the line, and again, press on Alt, and then hover over your line right here. Kind of looks like an old telephone. Click and drag downwards, and you can get that curve better. Now that's another way to get the curvature of your boat right. And now we have the line right here. It's straight. We clicked on the anchor point. Let's click on the top right. We're going to click and hold this time, and we're going to move that anchor point around so that the curve matches the shape of the boat. That looks great. This time we've got kind of a funny bit right here, and we're going to complete the circle, and I'll show you how to fix it. So let's connect the dots right here. We know that we finished the loop because if you look in closely, you'll see a circle on the pen tool right here at the anchor point. Click it, and now you're in business. What I'd like you to do at the top of the boat is press Alt on your keyboard, hover over the line, click and drag down, and notice how that's changing the top right and the top left. Can you tell me how to fix that? One way to fix this is to deal with our anchor points. You can fix it from there. If you press Alt on the top right handle and then move that top right handle around from here, it's only going to affect one of the two arms, if you will. And so that's one way to fix it. That's pretty close right there, and I'd say that is just about perfect. I'm going to keep it as is. Now the bottom path, if you press Alt and click around, you can fix that path right there to fix it and to clean it up. So how's that boat look to y'all? I think it looks awesome. So now let's apply what we've learned to the sails. So press Control 0 so you can see everything, and then press Control plus, and then spacebar and click so that you can see the sails totally in frame. You'll also notice that the sails are triangular. So now we'll click the top, the bottom left, the bottom right, and then again complete the circle at the top so that we have a perfect triangle for our sails. Once you see the circle on the last anchor point, you know that you've completed the loop. And as we've learned, we're going to press Alt on our keyboard, hover over the right-hand part of the sail, and then drag it out so that the curvature of your sail matches the curve of the sketch. It doesn't need to be perfect, but you can get it in as close as possible. Now, we're going to choose the left side of the sail, hover over the line, press Alt, and then drag your sail in towards the line so that it matches the same curvature. That looks good, and we fixed it. Perfect. So then let go. We'll move our cursor down, hover over the bottom part of the sail, press Alt on the keyboard, and then drag that down after clicking so that line matches the outline of the sail. Hey, that looks great. Hey, why don't we do the same thing to the other side of the sail? So click on the top, we'll click on the bottom left, click 3, bottom right, click 3, and all you're doing is clicking. We're not clicking and dragging. Click, let go, move the mouse up to the top, and click where you're meant to click. So here, it's click, move it down, click, move it over, click, move it up. We're going to drag it up. We're going to go to the top anchor point until you see the circle that says we finished the loop. And again, we're going to press Alt, hover over the right hand of the sail, drag it till it matches the outline, let go. Now the left side of the sail, hover over the line, press Alt, click and drag it so it matches your line here. And then at the bottom, hover over the line. We have the pen tool open, press Alt, click and drag down after pressing Alt so that it matches the sketch. Then you can let go, and we're in business right here. All right, so now we're going to do the different layers of the sails before billowing the sail. So we're going to click right here on this area, right outside of the sail. All right, let me show you what I'm talking about. So we press spacebar, we've clicked, and we've drug over so that we have a better view. So what do I do here? Let me tell you. We still have the pen tool open, check. And over on the left-hand side, we're going to be doing this bottom line right here. You need to click outside of the sail. So roughly here, we're going to click and delete these points later, but click outside of the sail, let go, move your mouse over to the other side, and again, we're going to click outside of the sail, and we're going to make a straight line, click right here outside of the scale, and you're going to click and drag around. Ooh, that's kind of tough, right? You kind of move things around, it's a bit off, but let me show you a better way. Press Escape or Control Z, spacebar, click and move back down, and I'll show you how to make a mistake. And it's okay to make a mistake in Illustrator. we need to learn how to learn from our mistakes in Illustrators. This is why I don't click and drag. Click on the outside, move the mouse over, and then click on the other side of it, and then just let go. So you have a straight line. Then you've got it. Press Alt on the bottom here and drag down so that the curvature of your line matches the line of the sketch. To get rid of that, press Escape, and we'll do it again. Click outside of the line, click, move your mouse over to the other side here, click outside of the sail, click, let go, press Alt, and then drag down so that the curvature matches your sail. Alright, we're going to be repeating these steps so we get practice in, because this repetition helps us learn. And so it's the same deal again. Click on the side of the line, move your mouse over to the outside of it, click, press Alt, drag down so that the curve matches just like this. Perfect, we'll get in those reps. Press Escape, click on the outside of the sail, click, drag to the other side of the sail, press Alt, click and drag down so it matches. Then the last one, click on the outside of the sail, click, drag over to the other side, click, and then press Alt and click and drag down so that we get each step of the sail right here. Press Ctrl 0 so that you can see the work that we've done so far. It's starting to get cold outside. Looks pretty great, doesn't it? This is getting cold. This must be a regatta ride to Antarctica. Whew. Go ahead and open up the Shape Builder tool. This one's one of my favorites. So to open up Shape Builder, what's that doing there? Over on the left-hand side, this is our Shape Builder tool. You also can press Shift M to open up the Shape Builder, and again, by hovering over it, it'll preview how Shape Builder works. You want to make sure that you have your default fill-in stroke by pressing D. Then, while holding Control on the top left, you want to select all of the areas here on the right-handed sail. So make a marquee selection like this so that all of that is selected. And notice how C1, C2, and C3 have all been selected. By hovering over it, it'll show you that it's highlighted something. Cool. So go ahead and click all parts of the sail, here, 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 so that your sail looks like this, and each bit is now white. We're on a roll now, huh? Another handy thing we can do is that if you press Alt, it'll go from a plus to a minus. So by pressing Alt, you can delete from the selection. So these bits right here we don't need. Click and drag and draw over each bits of these lines that are hanging over, and that'll just delete it from the selection, right? So you see why I wanted to click and draw outside of the sail, and it was because I didn't want you to miss any lines or make any mistakes. And also I wanted to teach you how to use this delete from selection tool. So 3, 2, 1, and we're done. I told you I'd have us clean that up. So that looks pretty great. Ooh, it's getting chilly out here, and it's windy too. So to reflect the windiness, let's billow these sails. Now we know how to do this by pressing Alt and dragging over. So open up the Pen tool, and we're going to be treating each of these objects as something separate. And that was because we opened up the Shape Builder tool. The Shape Builder allows us to change this path and billow the sail. So I opened up the Pen tool, I'm pressing Alt, and I'm billowing it out by clicking and dragging out just a little bit. So it's pretty windy out. Mine might be a little bit more billowy than yours, and that's a-okay. So we are pressing Alt, hovering over the line, clicking and dragging out to accomplish this right here. That's exactly how I want the sail, looking great. It's okay if yours looks a little bit different. I think it'd be interesting to look and compare everybody's artwork so we can see how windy everybody made their sail. Very curious how that's going to turn out. So now the book wants us to do the same thing to the other sail and to the body of the boat. So again, we're going to open up the Shape Builder tool, and we need to select the part that we want to use. So Control and select the part of the sail over on the left-hand side here, and we'll click inside the sail to turn it white. Perfect, that's exactly what we want. We'll do the same thing on the bottom right here, but instead we're going to make the bottom part of this boat black. Once you've selected the object, which is so now we need to select this using the Marquee tool, and then you'll see that it is highlighting like this. Then you can click on the inside right here, and you can make sure that your sailboat's body turns black as such. Now how about we fill in our mast? And you'll notice when we press Control 0 and then zoom in by pressing Control plus, you'll notice that the mast is actually meant to be behind the sails. Good thing there's a handy button in Illustrator that'll help us do just that. So first what we're going to do is open up the rectangle tool or press M to accomplish that. Select the rectangle tool and we'll change our color to brown. Any shade of brown will work. Now you don't want to have the boat selected. Illustrator's very sensitive to what you have selected. So then deselect the boat, click off of it, we'll reopen the rectangle tool, we'll change our fill to any shade of brown that you think is appropriate for a boat like this, and then Control minus, so that we can get the full mast in view. Then, up at the top, I want you to draw the line like this, but if you draw it regular, it's going to put the mast right in front of the sail. We don't want that, do we? So Control Z to make that go away, and then over here, just below the fill and stroke, just below the gradient, you'll see this button that says Draw Behind. Now you can press Shift D to draw behind, and that's exactly what we want to do. That's awesome. So now, once you press that button, we're going to stop in the top left of the mast, click and drag down all the way to the bottom of the boat, and notice how it's actually falling right behind the sail. Awesome. Now mine's not exactly like the sketch is, but a mast is a mast, and it's working, and a sketch is just meant to be there as a reference. And you can always Control Z and redo it as I did, and I'm gonna keep it something like this. That looks awesome. We'll do the other one. Drag it over, keep it roughly like this. You can always make more precise changes afterwards. And I can show you how to do that later if you'd like to. But now we've got some ropes that are holding the sails together. If we didn't color in these ropes, our sails would fly away and we'd be in some big trouble at sea. And given how windy it is, given how cold it is, I think that we want to make sure that these ropes are attached to the sail, right? To tie the sailboat together and finish stage 1, we're going to open up our pencil tool. Can you tell me where the pencil tool is? So to make sure that this sailboat doesn't go flying away and go flying through the Straits of Gibraltar and never to be seen again, we're going to tie these sails down. Alright, we're going to accomplish that by using the pencil tool. And to make sure that the crew of this sailboat are going to be able to make it back safely, we need to tie down these sails to make sure that the crew are not added to the list of never seen again sail crew. So what I'd like you to do is open up the pencil tool. You're going to find it over here. Under the shaper tool, if you click and hold or press N, it'll open up the pencil tool. We're going to change our stroke to 2 because we want to make sure that rope is plenty thick, and then we're going to make sure that the fill is set to none and the stroke is going to be set to orange. That's a good color of orange, and then all you need to do is just draw it in, right? And so I'm going to attach the top sail to the mast. I'm going to have the middle rope right here, add a little bit of spice to it, and then I'll attach the mast at the bottom and the rope to the mast on the side, press Control minus, and then put the boat into full view. Everything's looking great, and I'd say we're good to move on to stage number 2 from here. Excellent work, team. So on this stage, we're going to be working on colorizing and painting our sailboat. We just created this. What we need to do is create global custom swatches. Click on Window and then click on Color or press F6. That'll open up our color panel right here. You're welcome to check out more options by clicking this button on the top right and then click on Show Options. You can see the CMYK sliders. Test them out if you'd like to. You can create your own custom color scheme in here. You also have the eyedropper. But first let's open our Swatches panel. Click on Window, then click Swatches. Now, once you have Swatches open, the first thing that you need to do is to get rid of any unused colors. So, in order to do this, click on this More Options button right up here, and you'll notice the button called Select All Unused. And it does that. Now you can see all of the swatches that you're not using. Now we can get rid of them. To get them out of here, click the trash can at the bottom to delete the swatch selection, and you are sure that'll leave us with the swatches that we're currently using. Check it out. We're using the body of the boat, the mast, and the rope, and those ones are showing up right here. Now, we need to be able to see all of our notations, or the letters, C1, C2, C3, but we drop the opacity. So let's get the sketch back a little bit. All right? The first thing you want to do is click on the left-handed sail over here so that it has the selection handles. Then click on Select, Same, Fill Color. Now, everything with the same fill color has been selected. Excellent. At the very top center, you'll notice a button called Opacity. It's set to 100 right now, but we can bring that down to 50. You can toggle the slider or type in 50, whatever works for you, but with the opacity set to 50%, we can see which color is meant for which part of the sail, as well as the gradient on the sail on the left-hand side. Now we know where to color in. Now let's deselect everything and select everything that has C1. So click on C1, press Shift, click the third one, keep Shift held, and then click the very last one that says C1 right here. With these three selected, and in the color palette, we're going to choose a green color. So on the slider, here on the CMYK spectrum, let's choose a medium green. That looks like a fine color green to me. You can choose your own and customize it as you like. With one click, it'll automatically apply the green to all three billows of the sail. Solid. We also can save our swatches, which is really handy if you want to reuse the color again in the future. So in order to save a swatch, you'll go over to your swatches panel. You'll notice the new swatch button right here. That'll open up this dialog box, and that'll give you your CMYK settings, exactly how you want the color to be used. You can change the name, the color type. I'll be calling this Professor Green because that's my choice. Call it whatever you'd like. Keep it a process color, keep it set to global, but you also can toggle your CMYK to change your colors, but I like my color scheme and I'll keep it as is. So press OK, and notice how it's added to the library right here. That's awesome. It would have been harder to find if we hadn't deleted all of the unused swatches. Don't you agree? It's also important to know this is a global color. Now if you double click over the color, you can check to see that it is set to global. So again, if you double click any of your swatches, that'll allow you to make edits to that swatch. But first, let's colorize everything else, all right? So deselect the sail, and then click on C2, and just like we did before, press Shift, and then click on the other C2 just below so that both are selected. Now let's choose a bluish purple color. Looks pretty good right there, and we'll keep it as is. We're gonna click on New Swatch in our Swatches panel. We'll call this swatch Professor Purple. We'll keep everything else the same, but if you want to make changes, feel free to make changes. Process Color Global, check. And there's our new swatch right here. The new swatch has been added to our swatch library. Solid. Now just click off and then click back on, select C3, and then let's make this one kind of a reddish purple pink color. Looks great. Create a new swatch. Change the name of this swatch to Professor Pink. Excellent. Press OK. Notice it's been added to the library. Solid. Double click it to open it up. Make sure that works. Make changes if you'd like to. But now let's bring the opacity back up so we can no longer see what's going on in the background. So now to bring the opacity back up for everything, first you need to make sure that you select the pink color, then click Select, go to Same, and then Opacity. Click Opacity. Select Same, Opacity. And when you have the same opacity, 50% selected, you'll go back to the opacity up at the top, and then we'll toggle that back to 100 or type it in, and you can do that all in one step. Isn't that great? Now we have 100% opacity for the entire sail, and we can add a gradient to the other part of the sail here on the left. So click off to deselect and click the left-handed sail, and we'll open up our gradient panel by clicking on Window, select Gradient or Control F9, and let's move that out of the way so we can organize our workspace and make sure we can remain efficient while using Illustrator, like most graphic designers would. Now by default, our first gradient is going to be a white to black gradient, as you can see right here. If you click on the gradient swatch on the top left corner, that'll apply that gradient to the object you've selected. But I don't think we should have a black and white sail. Let's make it more colorful. What do you think? So you'll notice your slider in here. There's a lot you can do with that sliding ramp, if you will. So to change up the color on the gradient slider, all you need to do is double click on the color, or this circle right here, double click over the white circle. That'll open up your color picker. But what color am I going to pick? Click on the swatches panel, and then you'll see the colors that we've created, as well as colors that we've used throughout this project. But let's go ahead and choose the green swatch for the first one and notice the changes already. Then we'll go back and we will double click on the black color picker, and we're going to choose the pink swatch for that second color so that it looks like this. If you want to personalize this, go for it. You don't even need to be constrained to 2 colors. If you want to add another color, just click right below the gradient slider, so right under here. Oh, and I actually clicked once in there, so I'm going to scoot that back over to the right. To add a third color, all you need to do is click just below the gradient slider, and that'll add a third swatch right in the middle, or really wherever you click, just like this. So if you want to put it in a specific location, you can give it the coordinates right here. So for location, please put that to 40. So type in 40%, and then double click that new gradient that we just created. And for the middle one, we're going to apply the purple swatch, Professor Purple, and notice how it goes from green to purple to subtly pink. We also can move other things around. So here's our green slider, and notice what happens when I move it to the right. It'll also change the sail in real time. Can you believe that? You can adjust how quickly you want the color to change from one to the other. So notice how that mix changes by toggling these right here. So change the first one so it's about 30%. Looks good right there. Now's a good time to save our document. Click File Save or press Ctrl S before you move on to the next part of the work. This looks great, y'all. Now we need to edit some of the global color swatches that we just created. One of the benefits of the global colors is that if you ever need to change the color of one of the swatches, it'll apply that change to all of the swatches that you've saved, which is really handy. So that'll make it easier to recolorize any artwork that you might have. So let me show you how to do that. Go to your swatches panel. We're going to edit the green swatch. So double click over the green swatch that you created to open up the swatch editor. So with our CMYK values here, we can make specific percentage changes to our color. So the book is asking us to change our C value to 0, press Tab to go to the next value. For M, set to 75. For Y, we'll also set to 75. K, we'll set to 10. You can check the preview, so click on preview to see what it actually looks like in real time. I always keep my preview on. Now, all of our green has been changed into this salmon color, but that's all right. We'll change it for now. That'll update our swatch. And notice how that changed it also on the right-hand side. Let's make a change to our purple. Double-click the purple swatch. You'll notice the CMYK values. So change your C to a 0, the M will be a 10, Y change to 100, and K, just go ahead and keep that set to 0. You can toggle the preview to see what it looks like. Wow, I like that yellow color. The purple's changed to yellow. I'll press OK. And now let's change Professor Pink to another color. Change the C to 0. Your M will be set to 60. Press Tab to change your Y to 100. Press Tab, change your K to 0. Check preview. That looks awesome. Press OK. And this is the change that you just made. It goes from a salmon to a yellow to an orange. That's a really good looking sailboat. But hey, now let's adjust the gradient by using the gradient tool. With our selection tool, by pressing V, click on the left-handed sail and open up our gradient tool. That's going to be found in the toolbox, or press G to open up the gradient tool. When you open up the gradient tool, it'll add a line just like this across our object. And I want to show you how to use this. If you hover over it, you're going to see that it's actually a slider. You can't tell too well, but you actually can click one of the swatches, reposition it, and notice the change right here. Really handy gradient slider. But with the gradient tool selected, you can move this around and you can change the starting and stopping point of the gradient. So notice how I can move this around and make changes using the gradient tool. Pretty handy, isn't it? Now with the gradient tool selected, you're welcome to click and drag vertically to change the starting and stopping point just like this. And notice the changes as I rotate it around. The book though wants you to click on the bottom right hand corner, drag over to the left hand corner just like this so it stops right next to the left handed corner. Make sure that your angle matches the angle of the boat. Now that's going to move your gradient slider back up, but that's okay. But this is how our artwork should look for now. It's okay if yours looks a little bit different, and you can make changes to that later on. And that's okay. At this point, get creative, and as long as it's going in this general direction and you have your gradient set up, I think your sailboat looks great. Go ahead and click File, Save, or Control S, and we'll move on to stage 3. This is our last stage. Let's go on a cruise. And now we're on to the third stage of the Regatta artwork project. We're going to be taking all of the elements of the sailboat to create this finished poster. Let's manage this artwork with sublayers. Let's take everything that makes up the boat and put it into one grouping. So in the Layers panel on the right-hand side, expand the boat sketch to see all of the sublayers below the boat drawing right here. So expand the boat sketch, take a look at all of the sublayers. If you click off to the right-hand side, you can then easily and quickly select just one of the objects. In order to select all of the objects quickly, go ahead and click on Select All or press Ctrl A, and that'll select all of the sublayers under the boat sketch right here. Then click on Object, Group, or Ctrl G, and now you can see that everything has been packed together under one group under the boat sketch. So double click over that grouping and then we'll call it Sailboat. Sound good? Looks great. Close your swatch, close your color, free up some space, Ctrl 0 to center and fit this to the screen. Now click on Edit, Copy, and then open up the other poster that was given to us in this project. So let's open up the other poster that was given to us. Click on File and then Open or press Ctrl O and then look for the poster.ai file. There it is. Click it just once and then press Open or double click and you'll see it right here. Looks great. That is our Regatta poster background. Now that we've placed our poster, we're going to press Ctrl 0 to fit it to our artboard. Now you need to paste the sailboat into here. So go to Edit, Paste, or Ctrl V to drop the sailboat right here in the center. So pop out your Layers panel so you can see more of it, and expand your Layer 1 layer so you can see all of the sublayers and even your sublayers in here. What I need you to do is to put the sailboat some of the other layers so it looks like it is floating in these waves. So if you look at the Layers panel and expand it downwards like this, you'll see a lot of different waves that are behind the sailboat. So click on the sailboat layer and then drag it down so that it goes right below wave 6, right here. So think of it like a stack of papers, and we're going to be putting it down into the middle of the stack, and oh no, we sunk our boat! And our artwork has sunk, so we need to make sure that we fix that. Using our selection tool, we can move this around. And you're gonna see a few mistakes in here. This might happen to you. So I wanna make sure that you have the tools you need to be able to fix this in the future. Now the sailboat is in between wave 6 and 7. We're gonna open the selection tool by pressing V, and then select the sailboat over here, and then move your sailboat up just like this, so that the sailboat is kind of behind some of the waves and it sits nicely so it looks like it's naturally fitting in right here. That looks really good right here. And so the sailboat is in perspective. We have depth. There's perspective for our artwork. So now what we're gonna do is do Ctrl S to save our work and move on to the next step. Looking good in there. You better be there or be square. The next thing that you're gonna do is to add a bit of a splash to that last wave. So in order to do this, we need to lock and hide some parts of the artwork. So let's move and adjust some of the visibility for these elements that are kind of in our way. So the first thing I need you to do is go back to the Layers panel, click on the second box right here, right next to the eye, and that'll toggle the lock. It's editable when it's blank, but go ahead and click that and drag your lock down all the way down through the background. The layers you do want to work on are wave number 8, so unlock wave number 8, just like that. The next thing that I need you to do is make sure the date and the text are out of the way. Turn off the visibility of these layers, the banner and the date, and that's going to leave us with the artwork right here. And we're going to work with this as you can see it here. Now let's find the blob brush tool to create shapes, and it's right next to the paintbrush tool, so hover over it, click and hold, or press Shift B to open up your blob brush tool. One of my favorite fish is the blobfish. I don't know if that has anything to do with the blob brush. Now if you double click on the tool icon, that opens up your tool options. Please keep selected on your blob brush, and merge only with selection is checked off. Remember, we got here by double clicking on the blob brush tool. So keep everything exactly as it is, press OK. And now to use the blob brush tool, you're going to zoom in to the splash right here. So Control++, spacebar, click and drag around, and we'll start right at the peak of the wave right here. And we'll move it up to add the splash, as well as some water droplets coming off of that splash right there. Now, with the blob brush tool open, all you need to do is create a wave. Not too hard for me, I'm a wavy guy. So from the tip of the wave, get creative, make it a little curly like that. All right, I'm wishing that I was in J-Bay, South Africa, catching the tubes at Super Tubes. I'll also add another wave over here because it's a monster wave. Add another one right here. This is going to be a pretty dramatic wave, just like your teacher. And you can create the splash exactly how you want it. You also want to make sure that the base fits with the flow of the rest of the wave. So make sure to draw into the wave and then draw to the top of the wave all the way to the mast. Toss in a few splashes while you're at it, okay? And again, whatever splashes or spiciness that you want to add, that's up to you. All right, but I'm going to keep this as such. From here, press Ctrl+0 so you can see the entire artboard. And now that you're here, well, I'm going to add a bit more of a splash and a second one here. That's a pretty artistic avant-garde splash that I think suits my artwork quite well. It's okay if yours doesn't look like mine. Your splash can be your splash. Once you're finished, it's a great time to save. Never forget Ctrl+S or File Save, and we're back in business, team. Now we're going to use the Pathfinder tool to combine the wave and the splash. You'll notice that the wave is blue, but the splash is black, and so we're going to deselect, and we want to make sure that the wave and the splash is the same color. And looking in our Layers panel, you'll notice all the paths at the top right here. Well, that's what you just did. They're currently unlocked, and wave 8 is unlocked. So make sure that you have all of the paths that you created are selected. You can toggle on and off the eye to see what you just created, but I'm going to select the first path, press Shift and click down and select the final path, let go, and then I'm going to make sure that all 4 of these paths are nested below wave 8. And notice what happens. You need to think of your layers like a stack of papers. The one on the top of the stack is the one that you're going to see first. So the order should be date and time, left barrier, and then waves 1 through 6, sailboat, wave 7, 8, and then paths. But let's open up our Pathfinder tool so we can join these together. So click on Window, and click on Pathfinder, or Shift Control F9. Now press on Select All, or Control A to select everything from the wave through the splash. And within our Pathfinder, you're going to click on the very first button right here that says Unite. That will combine and unite together all of the objects that you have. So if you click this button right here, that'll combine the splash with the wave in the background, and we just united all of the colors to create a compound shape, and we added that color to the new shape that we drew, which was that splashy path. or set of paths. Now that we've finished the Pathfinder tool, we can close that down. We have our layers panel right here. And our last step, believe it or not, is going to be save it as a PDF. But first, let's go ahead and make our date and time visible and our left banner visible so that we can see our final product. Wow, we just created that. Now, press Ctrl S to save our work. Can't forget to do that. Now, click on File, and then Save As, or Shift Ctrl S. And then under our Save As type, scroll down and we'll save it as a PDF. That's our second option right here. We'll be calling this one Poster-Professor-Final because this is the final product. Y'all did that. Excellent job. We don't need to make any more changes in here. Press on Save. Take a look at your work. That'll open up these options right here. These are the Adobe preset options. The book wants you to review these options, and we follow the book because we are good students. And so it's important to know that we can change our preset type, our standard, the compatibility, as well as the compression and various other options. Security, the size of the file. You're also welcome to turn on different things. Crop marks, printer marks. We can use different things for different projects, or when you go to industry, these things will matter. But for now, for the sake of this project, we don't need to change anything. We'll save the PDF, and the PDF is what I need you to upload for credit. That is it. You've completed the sailboat, you've completed the poster, and you have completed Regatta artwork project in Adobe Illustrator. You are one step closer to being a graphic designer. Congratulations, and class is dismissed.